Tonight, close your bedroom door. Now remove the door. Remove the bedroom, the contraception, the calendar, the medical advice, and every written rule you have ever learned about sex. You are sleeping beside a fire with 20 other people. You still feel desire. So what was sex actually like before civilization? And were ancient humans doing it only to make children, or were they doing it for pleasure too? The honest answer begins with a problem. Stone tools survive, bones survive. Sometimes even DNA survives, but desire does not fossilize. No archaeologist can recover a private glance, an invitation, an awkward refusal, or the reason two adults moved away from the fire. That means we cannot prove the motive behind one sexual encounter from 30,000 years ago. But we can ask a better question. Did ancient humans have bodies and brains in which sex could be rewarding beyond the narrow act of reproduction? Here, the answer becomes much clearer. Ancient Homo sapiens were not unfinished versions of us. They had the same basic human anatomy, the same kind of nervous system, and brains built from the same ancient reward machinery. In modern humans, sexual pleasure activates systems connected with motivation, learning, reward, and relaxation. Female sexual anatomy also contains specialized structures strongly associated with arousal and pleasure. Those structures did not suddenly appear when someone invented a bedroom. Pleasure was part of the biological equipment ancient humans carried into every cave, shelter, and open camp. That does not prove why any one person had sex, but it destroys the idea that prehistoric sex was only a cold reproductive procedure. Human fertility makes the story even stranger. In many mammals, fertility is advertised through obvious changes, and sexual activity is concentrated around that period. Humans are different. Ovulation is not announced by one unmistakable external signal that everyone can reliably read. Sexual interest can occur outside the fertile window, during pregnancy, and at times when conception is unlikely or impossible. Researchers still debate exactly how this pattern evolved. It may have supported attachment, cooperation, repeated contact, or several functions at once. But whatever its evolutionary history, sex and conception are not locked together like one switch. And this is not a uniquely modern trick. Across primates and other mammals, researchers have documented sexual behavior that does not directly produce offspring. Bonobos are the famous example, but they are not the only one. Sexual behavior can appear in social bonding, tension reduction, competition, reconciliation, exploration, and same-sex interactions. Ancient humans were not bonobos, and animal behavior is not a recording of our ancestors. The comparison proves something narrower. Nature did not wait for cities, romance novels, or dating apps before sex acquired functions beyond immediate reproduction. The human version was almost certainly more complicated because humans attach memory, expectation, jealousy, rules, status, and meaning to almost everything we do. Then archaeology gives us a different clue. At Abri Castanet in France, researchers studied engraved and ochre-stained images on the collapsed ceiling of a rock shelter. The images were made by people of the early Aurignacian more than 30,000 years ago. Among them were forms interpreted as representations of female sexual anatomy. This matters because sex was not only happening invisibly. Parts of the sexual body had entered the symbolic world. People selected them, simplified them, carved them, and placed them in shared space. But the image comes with a warning. A sexual carving is not a security camera. It cannot tell us whether the maker was teaching, worshiping, joking, remembering, celebrating fertility, expressing desire, or doing several things at once. Anyone who gives one certain explanation is placing a modern story inside an ancient line. DNA can prove even more and explain even less. Genomes show that modern humans and Neanderthals had children together. Some encounters happened recently enough in family histories to leave long Neanderthal DNA segments in early modern human genomes. That is direct evidence that sex crossed the boundary between different human populations. But DNA records a descendant, not a relationship. It does not preserve attraction, affection, exchange, pressure, violence, or consent. The most intimate biological evidence is emotionally silent. Sex also carried consequences that pleasure could not erase. Pregnancy demanded energy, childbirth could be dangerous, infection could spread. Desire could produce attachment, rivalry, jealousy, conflict, or coercion. Ancient people did not need modern medicine to notice that sex, pregnancy, and birth were connected. But we should be cautious about giving them detailed fertility calendars, reliable contraception, or scientific knowledge for which no direct evidence survives. Knowing that two events are connected is not the same as knowing the hidden biology between them. Then there was privacy. A private bedroom feels normal only because architecture has made it normal. Many ancient people lived in camps where shelters, work, sleep, food, and fire occupied the same social space. That does not mean everyone watched everything. Privacy can be created with darkness, distance, timing, temporary separation, a hide screen, or silence. It can also come from a rule that tells other people when not to notice. Humans can build privacy socially before they build it with walls. The problem is that those rules leave almost no archaeological trace. So, did ancient humans have sex for pleasure? We cannot recover a person's private reason from the Paleolithic. But ancient humans possessed bodies capable of sexual pleasure. Their sexuality was not mechanically restricted to one visible fertile moment. Non-reproductive sexual behavior is far older than civilization, and prehistoric people placed sexual anatomy into art and symbol. The most reasonable answer is yes. Not every encounter, not every person, not in one universal way. Sex could produce children, pleasure, closeness, status, conflict, obligation, curiosity, or danger. Usually, several meanings probably overlapped. Now put the bedroom door back. The door gives you privacy. Medicine gives you choices. Writing gives you knowledge collected across generations. But none of those inventions created sexual desire. They changed the conditions around something much older. Civilization did not teach humans to have sex for pleasure. It taught us new ways to hide it, explain it, regulate it, and argue about what it means.